Oh man, Alibre V29 came out and the new menus just killed the time tab. This is a tragedy.
No, it isn't.
Is it?
It isn't.
Why not?
I'll tell you why not. So let's get right in with V29. Now, the first thing you will notice is when it fires up is we have a different splash screen. And that splash screen, as noted by a user in the forums, has got a lot of free real estate over here. Watch this space, literally this space. It's more consolidated. I like it. I also like the fact that there are now words next to the icons. For a complete novice, this makes everything a bit more easy to understand. And you will see that the overarching theme of V29 is making more accessible to anyone that, fires it up for the first time ever. So with that said, let's start a new part. And you'll also notice that I have gone dark, meaning I have the dark mode on. And the reason for that, and the reason I didn't have it on in V28 is, so the dark mode, let me just show you what's going on. It basically controls all of this, right? It doesn't control the working area. You can set the working area in the system options, which have not yet been moved over to dark mode. That's one of the few notes I will make here. These are not dark mode, but you can go here into your color scheme and you can change pretty much every single color you see on the software. And that is where you change your background, right? Hover, selected, all of that. So this is how you change colors. And as I was saying before, the main reason that I did go for dark mode now is that the actual menus now follow suit. Now the menus are in dark mode as well. So for example, if I open up the part color menu, you see that the entire background is dark. And there is a significantly different menu layout. But we will discuss this in just a moment. But first, let's have something to discuss. So let's go start a sketch and let's do a hexagon here. By the way, if you're wondering how I get the initial sketch to change color, you see this is not any of the three defined colors I have here. This is the preview color. Let me just show you in the system options, color scheme. This is in the general category, the preview color. So that is the color your sketch figure will have before you lock it in. Placing stuff here, let's make that 75 and let's extrude that for 12 millimeters. Now, the main differences in V29 is here. And here also lies the reason the tie tab is dead. So let me just remind you, in V28 and before that, we could do the tie tab move in both Extrude Boss and Extrude Cut. And what was that? You did a Shift tab and the drop menu that selects the extrusion type would be highlighted. It's no longer a drop-down menu. That's the main reason this doesn't work. But the beauty of the tie tab is the drop-down menu would be highlighted. You would hit the down arrow and it would go into mid-plane for Extrude Boss and it would go into through all for Extrude Cut. But the depth would still be highlighted. So you did Shift up down arrow, you typed in a number, and you would get that as a mid-plane extrusion in Extrude Boss. Or you did Shift tab down arrow enter, and you would Extrude Cut through all. So that was the tie tab move. It was a huge time saver for the experts, for the endgame players of Alibre. Whereas this menu, with, no drop down menus that hide options and all of that, and with icons instead of just words. This has an icon attached to it. If you hover over it, you do get the word as well. This feels to me that it's going to be more easily understood by the new user. And since we are on the subject, let me also just point out that there is a very important thing about these new menus. The old menus were built using .NET. These menus are not. What that means is that this is the first and actually the most important and massive step towards Alibre being able to be ported over to other OS like Mac OS and Linux. So with that in mind, losing the tie tab move, I would categorize that as a net gain. Net loss for a net gain. Haha, I made a pun. My God, I'm so funny. So yeah, and there are a few more things that have been added to these menus, right? So for example, this is the reverse function. Previously, it was just a checkbox with a word. You still get these buttons, and they work with the roller now. As you can see, I'm just rolling my mouse, getting different values. I'm not exactly sure if that worked in V28, but it's pretty cool. And this chain link icon is now how you get your equation editor open. The equation editor is also in dark mode. Again, crisper, fresher look. And the great addition is these 3 lines. These 3 lines are the favorite menu, where you get to add your favorites, so that if you're using a dimension very often, you just add it to your favorites here, and you just select it from here. And the way this works is you just go here and you type a value. Let's add the value, I don't know, like 1, save. And now in my favorites, I've got this value. Now it's 1. It's exactly the same as you type it, so you need to click somewhere else. They've kept that with the new menus, and I actually like it. So there you go. That's how that works. And now you have mid-plane, and you've got your dual depths, up to next, and up to geometry. So another thing that you just saw is a error message popped down here. In V28, the error message would be in the middle of the screen. It would be modal, and I would have to click OK to continue working. So what you just saw there is the new way that Alibre is going to give you error messages. And I really love it because it doesn't stop me from continuing to work. This is especially useful when you're doing an assembly and the last constraint you used was a coincident, and now you want to use an angle constraint. And of course, as soon as you pick the 2 surfaces, then you can select the constraint type, and with coincident selected, it will error out, and you had to click that message and then go to angle. Now it will error out down here. It still grabs your attention and you look at it, but if you don't want to deal with it, you just don't deal with it. And finally, the last thing I want to say about here is this is the toggle for the 3D preview, okay? And this is important because I want to make a demonstration, especially in the fill-in in Chamfer. This is an issue, and it's been an issue for, well, since V24, since I first got Alibre, and you actually resolve it just by clicking here and toggling the 3D preview. And that's about it. Oh, and another major thing is in the extrude boss command, extrude cut in Alibre, you can extrude along a direction that is not normal to the plane or face that you drew your sketch on. It used to be so that there was this along normal checkbox, and it was always checked. And if you wanted to extrude along a different axis or whatever, you had to uncheck that, and then the little box got ungrayed out and you selected your direction. Here you actually check that you want to do a long direction, and then a new selection box appears. It's got the axis symbol, it's got words, you know what it means, and you actually select what you want to do with it. And if you don't have that selected, it doesn't take up screen space, and I love that. These are all the little notes I wanted to cover about the new menus in the extrude command specifically. Again, the type here, you've got inscribed and circumscribed. I'm not sure if we had that in V28. Actually, maybe we had that, but it was words, right? And a radio button or a text checkbox or whatever. Having icons is a lot more noticeable and a lot clearer. Okay, so let's make this 20 millimeters and we'll extrude through all, and that's it. Okay, now if I go and chamfer this, I select this, let's give it a large chamfer that we can actually look at. Oh, that's too big. Let's do 1 millimeter. Okay, you chamfer this edge and then you go ahead and click on this one and it doesn't do anything. You click here, it goes ahead, click here, it doesn't do anything. So right now, what happened here? I can only chamfer half the edges of the hexagon. Again, first encountered this in V24, but the way you solve it is you just turn off the 3D preview and you continue on your work, and then you turn it back on and you have your chamfer done correctly. You hit apply and that's it. Now, another very big update is in the assembly environment, where now we have standard parts in the Alibre Toolbox. Screws, nuts, circlips, pins. I love that toolbox. It's got so many things in it. And although I should note that the Alibre Toolbox is only available in Expert, so yeah, what do we have in the toolbox now? Well, we've got ANSI inch, metric, we've got DIN standards and ISO standards, and these are the old folders with the square tubes and the rectangular tubes that I made. For example, these are pre-cut. I showed how to do these in my toolbox video, but now we have so many more options here. If you go into the DIN standard, check this out. Bolts and screws, right? You've got bolts, you've got double threaded stud bolts, right? This is so helpful, and even full threaded rods. And you've got your socket head screws here, and you've got your hex bolts and your countersunk bolts here, and even some eye bolts, which is amazing. I mean, seriously, look at I hadn't gone into this menu yet. Look at the variety. Oh, I love this. I'm loving this. Carriage bolts. Oh my God. Oh, this is so helpful. And again, these come with a software now, right? And the way this works is these are all standard toolbox parts. So I want to put a socket head cap screw in. I go for the normal one, not the low head ones. I just click it and configure and insert. And what I get is a menu here. First of all, you click somewhere on the screen so that you make sure that whatever you do over here sticks in the assembly. That's a characteristic of the toolbox. If you don't do this, you can hit OK. It'll ask you to save it. It will actually save the new file, but it's not going to be in the assembly. You then need to insert design. But okay, let's look at this. Let's say I want an M12 screw, and I want the length, the nominal length, to be 55 millimeters. Okay, there you go. You've got your thread class here. But the most important one, I skipped over, cosmetic or model threads. Guys, these parts are toolbox parts. That means they're driven via an Excel spreadsheet, which you can actually edit and get more options in there. So that means that we can now select modeled or cosmetic threads through the Excel spreadsheet. So if I go with model threads, you can see now that the threads are actually modeled. If I go for cosmetic threads, you just get the cosmetic thread. And let's be honest, if you're not 3D printing the bolt, you want to go with cosmetic threads. Let me just point another thing here. Let's do 25. You see that the name changes here. If I edit this name in any way, shape, or form, it stops being dynamic. That's it. Now the bolt is inside my assembly and I can assemble it, basically. So toolbox, huge addition to V29 with lots and lots of parts. But there's more. Let's say you have this sheet metal bracket, right? It's a standard little bracket. That's the flat pattern. You fold it, you You take a seam down here and you've got yourself a pretty robust bracket to put something on it. So this has already been saved. So I'm going to send to make a drawing of this part. Yeah, I don't want unsaved. Okay, so there you go. Now, new sheet properties. So I've made my own template, Alibre drawing a first angle. That's why I leave the standard empty, and I'm just gonna hit OK. And there you are. I'm inside the drawing environment, and this menu is different. You see a lot more options here, a lot more options, and most of these options used to be hidden in a side menu here that you had to notice there were, you know, like 2 arrow brackets down here, and you needed to click and then they would pop open. This is a lot, you know, a lot better in my opinion. Let's click design dimensions, and it's a lot clearer what these arrows do as well. So this is going to be my front view, and you can see the highlighted blue ones are the views that will come in. Let's bring this one in as well. And hit OK, and we're in. Right. I also clicked design dimensions, and the design dimensions came in automatically. You need to make them look a bit better. Possibly these 25 millimeters are the holes. Okay, and you have your drawing, you know, pretty much. You need to add a few more dimensions here and there. So let's right click here now and insert a new sheet. Yep, same thing. And I will go here to sheets and the views, and I will add a standard view. I'll just click here again. The actual part that it's bringing in is the same part. But now I will click here. It says project as flat pattern. And what is selected by default is the bend center lines and the bend nodes. And guys, we didn't used to have bend nodes in Alibre. So you bring it in now, like so. I should have turned on one of these views. I don't need it. Can I turn bend views off? Bend nodes. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. It's not like it was a huge job to add them after the fact, but now they're there by on their own accord. And I can just click here and also add a leader. Significantly faster to add the bend nodes, especially if you have a huge part that you can just leave the bend node on the bend line and you don't need to move it. I am loving this. This is huge. Oh, and another thing I didn't mention is these menus that pop up, right? You see this little icon. I forgot to mention this when I was going through the extrude menu. It says dock and dock. So this is now, I can move this around now. If I click this, it just goes and docks there on the left side. Why is that important? So I'm using 2 screens, and when I'm showing something to a client, I move Alibre over to the larger screen I have to my side. And Alibre remembered where every menu is. So, if I want to do an extrude, the extrude menu will pop up in my laptop screen. In the previous screen, I had it. Now with this, it is docked to the workspace. It will open up here. So moving across screens, which I think I do more often than most people, but even so, this is super helpful for me. I love the fact that it's always in the same spot, helps me. Perfect, I'm loving it. And also, by the way, there are 2 options for the menus now. If we go to display, you see here that the dialog size mode is spacious or normal. So the normal, it doesn't go underneath the screen for me, right? But the spacious one for the same menu, and I need to close it and open it back up, goes underneath the script. I'm using spacious because, as I just said, I'm using a 15-inch laptop, and I like things to be a bit more spaced out and better. It helps me point. Other than that, the new menus are amazing, in my opinion. So, in summary, V29, I did lose the tie tab move, which can be made into a macro now with auto hotkey or a configurable mouse or keyboard or whatever. So we did lose the tie tab. We need a macro for a workaround. Also, my imprinting macro doesn't work as is. It needs to change slightly. But other than that, I do like the new menus. I do think they're easier to work with. And I do think that a new user will understand these menus a little bit better, and they do expose the capabilities a little bit better. So for us endgame players, it might be slightly slower, but for new people, it's going to be better to get into Alibre. And look, the same people that optimized the previous menus to perfection are still there in Alibre, and they will do it again. Just give it some time, and the menus will be getting better and better and better with time. I'm sure they will. So all in all, I give V29 2 thumbs up. Like and subscribe if you want videos on Alibre, how to use it, and general engineering design. And I'll catch you in the next one.